agenda.
I second it.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Get further form and discuss that, we made a mistake, but she gonna do it in the supervisor, okay? Approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, accepting the treasurer's report from the previous month.
Because we don't have it,
Right.
okay? All in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, now we do the final draft audit.
Would you like me to
Any word you feel comfortable.
make this over here so
Yeah, I take one.
this way I don't have people standing behind me here. Good evening. Jeff Stroder from Beeson K. Road Stroder, here to present the report or describe the report to you. Appreciate the opportunity to be audited again this year. I brought Sasha Williams with me. Sasha was responsible for the day-to-day activities conducting the audit, so she's here to make sure I don't say anything wrong. So, I will just summarize the information that's in the report, a couple of the highlights, and I usually don't spend a lot of time going over the financial statements themselves. I know you all see the financial statements as we go through the year, so I usually don't spend a lot of time just going over numbers that everybody's familiar with, and then I usually spend a little bit of time with the recommendations. But the first part I wanted to explain is that, as explained in the report, our responsibility as the auditors is to express an opinion on whether or not the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with modified cash basis of accounting. The financial statements themselves are the responsibility of the management of the city. So we express that opinion. It explains in here that we conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and in accordance with government accounting standards. Those will outline the procedures that we're having to do. The next part of the report goes on to explain that it is our opinion that these financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with the modified cash basis of accounting. That's the technical language that's in there. That's a clean opinion. That's the one we want to give. There's a little explanation in here that explains that these financial statements are not prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and that's very uncommon for Missouri cities to actually be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Like I said, yours are on the modified cash basis of accounting. That only has to do with timing on the revenues and expenses are recognized. And I would say probably 80 to 85% of all of the towns in the state of Missouri are using the same basis of accounting. So this is normal. There's also an explanation in here that some of the information in this report are not actually part of the basic financial statements, but it's included in the report for additional or supplementary information. And we are explaining here that even though it's not part of the basic financial statements, we've applied procedures to cover those schedules and statements as well. And that it's also our opinion that even though they're not part of the basic financial statements, they're also fairly stated in relation to those statements. So that's the technical wording that's in here. And the last part explains that whenever you do an audit in accordance with government auditing standards, there's a couple of extra steps that you have to go through to do that audit and to report on over and above just a regular financial statement audit. It explains that we've looked at the city's internal controls over how we record and process financial transactions, and we've also looked at the city's compliance with various laws and regulations, contracts, grant agreements, things like that that would be financial related type things. So we issue a separate report for that, and that follows the first report. One of the things we do explain is that we don't actually issue an opinion on the city's internal controls, but in order to be able to conduct our if we would note anything that we would consider to be a weakness in the controls, this is where we would report on those. And then it explains that we did find 3 things that I'll come back to. The 3 areas that we thought that there could be a weakness here, could be some room for improvement. And then I mentioned that we also report on compliance. We do mention that we found no instances of non-compliance that are required to be reported. That pretty well sums up the reports, the 2 reports that we have in this report. Like I said, those financial statements follow. There's a lot of information in there. It's a lot of very interesting reading. If you're suffering from insomnia, this might be a good thing for you to read. Mostly it's the same information as from previous years, and that's why I didn't want to spend a lot of time going through it unless anybody has any specific questions. It's just updating the same information for this past year's activity. There's nothing out of the ordinary there. So that brings us to the part where usually everybody's the most interested in. And like I mentioned, we had 3 areas with the internal controls that we wanted to make a suggestion on. The first one had to do with what we call a segregation of duties. It's on page 36 of the report. And we noticed that one person might be responsible for receiving cash and recording those transactions into the financial statements, and then also working with the bank reconciliation. That's the way the process was working during the year we were auditing. And that's the kind of thing that we would consider to be a weakness, because that one person has the ability to handle the money and record the transactions in the books. And first of all, I should say, just because we're talking about this weakness, I had no reason to believe from the work that we did that there was any missing money or anything improper like that. If there was, we would have been talking about it long before now, and the report would be very clear about that. So what I'm talking about here is that the situation is set up so that if somebody were to do something like that, standard procedures would not catch it in a timely manner. That's what I'm talking about. So what we would recommend is that those duties of handling the money and recording the transactions into the general ledgers be segregated by more than one person. My understanding is that for the coming year, the year that we're already in, that's already being done.
Correct. I mean, I don't do the bank reconciliations. We have a treasurer that does that now. I don't handle money. The collector handles the money. So we do have somebody who's oversight on me, at least, on the accounts payable side.
Right. So obviously haven't audited the next year yet, but it sounds to us like that this situation may already be changed. The second thing that we made a mention on had to do with some adjustments. It's part of the rules that we have to follow now are different than the way they used to be. It used to be that when we came in to do the audit, we started with their financial statements, and if we found anything that was wrong, we helped to correct it so that by the time it went into the financial statements, all the numbers were right, and there was no harm, no foul. Well, the rules changed a few years ago for us, so that now it requires that those financial statements that are handed to us at the beginning of the audit need to be at least materially accurate to start with, or else it's considered to be a breakdown in your controls. And I kind of see it from 2 different perspectives. In a small town, that's probably what you're hiring us for, is to make those types of corrections and get things fixed. And that's most people consider that to be part of the reason why you're paying us to do this. But when the rule change came out, the thought behind that was that, well, you all are using these financial statements to make decisions on before we get here to do the audit, so they need to be as accurate as possible so that you're making these decisions based off of good and accurate information. So that's the reason behind why now we have to consider this to be a breakdown in your controls. So we did have to make a couple of adjustments that we considered to be material. And I think the most significant one had to do with the project that was, right, it was partially funded with a loan and partially funded with a grant. And if my recollection serves from Sasha explaining this to me, I think all of the money was recorded in the loan account, which meant that your revenues were understated and your loan was overstated. So your income statement wasn't exactly where it needed to be. So the corrections are reflected in here. These numbers are right. But that was a pretty significant change to the numbers that you all had been using before we got here. So that's why it would be considered a breakdown in the controls on the financial statements. So this also is my understanding now that there's another accounting firm, Michael Horrell and Associates, that's working with preparing the treasurer's statement. So in my opinion, that probably reduces the risk that something like this would turn up again.
Oh, any mistakes I make, he catches.
Yeah, those guys, I've worked with them before, where they would do the bookkeeping on a monthly basis, and we would come in and do the audit at the end, and those guys are pretty straight up, pretty top notch. I believe you all have familiarity with Michael Horrell and Associates from years of been preparing for it. Yes. So, it seems to me then that this weakness that we noted during the year has probably been taken care of also. That leaves us just one last thing that I wanted to talk about. It had to do with adjusting entries. Sometimes there's a need to correct an error in the books. Everybody makes mistakes, and when they're caught, they get adjusted. Or sometimes it's just that we've recorded a transaction, and part of the follow-up to that transaction is the next journal entry. But we have all types of internal controls in place to write a check. People have to sign off on it. There has to be documentation to issue that check. But then the adjusting entries could be made just by whoever was taking care of the books. And there was no approval process or no oversight on those. So when you combine that with the fact that you had one person who was capable of receiving money and recording the transactions, and then you also had the ability to make these significant adjustments with no oversight over those. Again, it didn't mean there was anything wrong, but it means there's a situation there that if something were to go wrong, it wouldn't be detected, it wouldn't be caught. So that's why we mentioned that. So those are the three recommendations that we wanted to bring to your attention. And I believe a summary of the report. So at this time, I'd like to just see if you have any questions for me. I'd like to try to answer those, and I've brought Sasha to help me out if necessary.
I'd like to clarificate one thing. This cause has been made a political issue, back with the two entries, for some of it was grant and some of it was loan. It was never nothing mishandled, it's just the way it was logged and everything. The money was proper.
Right.
And nobody did anything crooked or wrong, and everything come out like it should.
Well, that was part of what I was talking about with the report we had on compliance. Because if there had been a problem with how that money was spent, that would have been non-compliance with the grant requirements and the loan agreement itself.
People in this room
So-
made an issue out of that, so I was wondering
Well,
here.
had there been any wrongdoing with how it was handled, we would have already been discussing that as part of that compliance report. No, the part that we were talking about with the recommendation was just the fact that it was just recorded in the wrong account and hadn't been noted until we got here.
I just want to make sure everybody else did that.
And I just have something on the third one, on the journal entries.
Yes, sir.
It was suggested, what I'm doing now is I print off the journal entries, which are all basically 4 blank pages, because I don't feel comfortable doing them. So, and he initials those each meeting, so that way hopefully that'll help us with the compliance on this third item.
That sounds like what we had in mind with our recommendation, because the main idea to me is that there's at least 2 sets of eyes looking at it. Yeah, I made the same recommendation in one of the school districts where I audit, and the bookkeeper, she was not real happy with me for making it, and she also had a smile on her face at the same time, but she said now what that has caused is that every time she makes a mistake, she has to go tell somebody that she made it, she can't just fix it. So, but she understood the reason behind it, and I think it makes sense. Why we have to do that. Yeah. I think by having two sets of eyes and documentation on it, you know, as long as the reviewer is putting a set of initials or something there,
Yeah.
that shows the trail that somebody else has been here before. Yeah, I think that'd be just fine.
Awesome.
Are we receiving the journal entries? I know we're receiving a printout of all the checks that are
Right.
written each month. Are we getting a journal entry that we're?
I've got it, I mean, basically, I mean, it's just like last month. Since I don't do journal entries, you know, but I go in and I do like you showed me how to do, and I print off the journal entries for all 4, you know, accounts that we have, and it's basically, it literally just shows the header, here's the account, here's the dates, you know, last meeting to this meeting, and it's blank.
And we
It's 4
have
blank.
that today because I was looking for it.
I can show you, you know, I mean, it's just, I mean, and I can do it, but I mean, it's 4 blank pages, 16 blank pages, you know, I don't,
Ordinarily,
16 blank pages.
well, there's 4 pages, because there's 4 accounts, and they're basically just a header and a blank page, because I don't do journal entries.
Oh,
I have Carl sign, you know, because they want us to sign the journal entries. But, I mean, basically, I would literally be photocopying 16 blank pieces of paper, and, you know. I mean, if you require that, I will be glad to do that.
ordinarily, just what I see in practice is that's usually not part of the board packet, just from the standpoint that it's usually not a new transaction, or it's because a new transaction would either come from a check or something that you're already have seen. Ordinarily, an adjusting entry is like a correction of an error, like something that you might have already approved, but maybe it got recorded in the wrong spot. So later on, after it was found, it got moved to the right spot. So ordinarily, it's not a transaction that's new to be approved. It's just making a correction, but that's why I feel at least to make sure that there's been one other person, whoever that is, that's at least seen it and making sure that, yeah, this is a legitimate correction. So.
I initial everyone. Anybody got any more questions, sir? We appreciate your report.
Well, we thank you all very much. This is our first year getting to work with Mr. David. I know from, y'all may or may not be able to be here during the day as things are taking place, but we get that ability to see how things are actually working whenever you're not around. So when it is the case, I like to pass it along that he treated us very professional, very courteous, very helpful. Anything that we asked for, he got for us right away, and we really appreciate that. I don't always mention that every year, and sometimes at some of my clients, it's not the case. I just keep my mouth shut. But when it is, when we do find that, I like to pass that along just in case you all don't get a chance to see how things work when you're not here. So.
We were very pleased with how your firm handled it out there and how you went about getting answers and stuff.
Well,
It was a big change from what we've been used to.
but that's nice of you to say. We appreciate that. One of the reasons we bring Sasha up here, she's top notch, and she takes care of it.
She was awesome, and you'll be proud, I already got a file called audit for next year. Anytime I run across a grant item that we receive, oh, they're gonna wanna see this, so that way it'll go smooth next year.
That sounds great.
You're welcome to stay or have a safe trip back there.
Well, we might do that. My son is he's 11 years old and full of fury at his wrestling match tonight, so I might be able to get back to the school before he hits the mat. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a-
Thanks again.
No, I guess we should probably go ahead and vote on accepting the report of the final draft. Somebody make a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the final draft audit.
What's that?
Make that all favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we discussed this in the work session. Anybody have a problem with David doing that?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Make a motion, he be allowed to take them up there and take them to the whoever.
Recycling, yeah, Valley Desert,
Valley,
there's
oh,
a
yeah.
company that's doing recycling.
They're way outdated.
I'll make a motion that David takes the old electronics to wherever it's supposed
What did we say?
to go.
Yeah.
You say,
Yeah, I second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, did you have this in your package?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what this is. We're just notifying, I don't know if we have any, it's already been transferred, never that, I don't think we'll
I don't think we want to.
It just, we're seriously by, Attorney General, that we've been, the building association's been dissolved in the city now. I think the deed's already,
Deed's been transferred, insurance has been transferred, I mean,
So
all
now,
we're waiting on is 2 checks to come back and then all the money that's left to be turned over to the city.
so now it's the city's
It's the city's
responsibility.
responsibility to take care of the insurance, which income, you know, it goes into, the money we gotta go into the tax account, and your income will still be the same. If we're going into the building association before, now it's coming into the city fire department, which is how their budget has to pay what we pay.
So this goes into the general fund then, or?
No, it goes to the fire department fund.
Oh, it's
The
the
real
firehouse,
tax.
that's the firehouse.
Real tax fund, before it's being transferred. But we used to maintain the building, the insurance and everything, now the city has to, but it'd be through the fire department, but. Okay. Now, finalization of the wastewater treatment plant project, we have, you've seen these 4 letters in your package on that. It's all done and, this was, yeah, it's here.
that's what the USDA wanted me to type up to finalize.
You got one of them there?
Yes.
That's what we need to do, make a motion that I'll be authorized to sign this, same way the water project complete, all phases are fully financed, the city concurs to de-obligate the remaining funds
I'll make a motion,
to do that.
got it, to do that.
Once you got that,
I'm not gonna-
have a second,
Aye.
all in favor,
Aye.
opposed, only sign this thing, you got no.
I got another one, go ahead and sign that, so we'll back up.
Okay. Ordinance 903. We talked about work protection. So we just want to do it, make a motion that we do.
I'll make a motion that we approve bill number 903.
That's the first reading. I got it.
Second. You have to, we have a second.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. This is the ordinance, so it'll be roll call.
Oh, yeah, no, this is first reading of bill number 903, an ordinance establishing city clerk to be provided with health
We
insurance.
got to vote first.
Oh, for the first.
We got to
reading.
vote to have the first reading.
Okay, got you. I'm sorry, I thought that.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I think that's what we roll call. On the ordinance.
Yeah.
On the ordinance, it has to be
Yeah.
roll call.
Right, roll call vote, Alderwoman Brenda Franklin,
Aye.
Alderwoman Diana Smith,
Aye.
Alderwoman Gloria Bader,
Aye.
Alderman Clyde Costu.
What do you already?
You almost said old woman.
I don't think I went straight on the back of the head. Okay, do we want to hold this over to next month, or do you want to put it to?
I'm, to vote on tonight, I don't know if I go.
I think I'll just vote on, you don't have to think about it next week, too.
Somebody make a motion for a second reading?
I made a motion for second reading of bill number 903.
Second.
Motion made and second, roll call.
Alright, roll call vote, Alderman
No,
Clyde.
you read it after we did that, so we
Second
gotta
reading.
read the first reading.
Alright, second reading, bill
We did
number
our shit together.
903, title only, an ordinance establishing city clerk to be provided with health insurance.
Okay, now,
Roll call vote.
we got the motion for the second reading. Roll call.
Hold on. Alderman
Smith.
Aye.
Alderwoman Gloria Baker.
Aye.
Alderman Clyde Wesson.
Aye.
All right. Who did I miss here? Alderman Brenda Franklin.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 903.
I second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Alderwoman Franklin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Clyde Wesson.
Aye.
Alderwoman Gloria Baker.
Aye.
You know, them names out there, you know, Alderman is a generic name. And them names says Alderman, they don't say Alderwoman.
The Toby and the Herald, when they talk about their meetings, they refer to him as Alderwoman. I want to be
You mean
politically
that-
correct, but if I'm wrong, you know.
You read the different Herald now, it's not always right.
Well,
I mean, it's right a lot of times, but they do make mistakes too.
well, I know.
But Alderman is the generic name for the dog.
Okay, all right. Are y'all cool with this political correctness?
I don't care, but it is.
That way you won't be so confused.
This has been discussed before. I think when Lodine was, on the office.
All right, I'll change.
It's confusing for him.
Yeah, it is.
All right, I'll
He's having a
change the
hard time with it.
nomenclature or whatever it is.
I'm just scared. No, I'm gonna be gone after next month. I'm gonna be out of here. Oh, okay, but I'll come to watch it. Ordinance 904, amending ordinance 832, which we discussed. But how, what are we, I guess the word for the 2-inch meter be the actual cost. Because that's not, price is not in there right now. is it?
Right, and in the ordinance I put, a 2-inch meter test paid in the amount of, and its current market rates, so whatever they. quote us.
Whatever they could make us
Is
pay.
what it is.
So that's up. Okay, do we have a motion for the first reading of 904?
Make a motion to first reading bill number 904.
Second?
Oh, I second it.
Okay. I just wondered, when can I wanted to make sure that now that we're in the meeting, that
Okay.
this part about that we will give a letter to the water user saying
If the
that
board
this,
wants to say that, then we will.
yeah, that the company that's testing their meter finds it to be good or bad as well. I mean, the city's welcome to do that too, you know,
Okay.
and get one for the city. But that way the people can't say, well, and, you know, they, you know what I'm saying?
Right, do you want me, or whatever the consensus is, to add that to this amendment and revisit this next month? Or you want me to just put it in the minutes that we, voted this with, contingency that we do that?
With the amendment on it.
Right.
All you want to add to the ordinance is that the customer will be given a copy of the official report.
Right, on the letterhead of the company that tests the meter.
Is the board okay with that?
I'm fine with
The original print will come out saying that. That will be the same with the exception of, that part will be at the end of it there.
Okay,
Okay?
I appreciate it.
I guess that'd be 100% legal on it. That's the way it's gonna read. Read that in it when you read.
Right, when I
Or don't read
this,
ahead.
I'll basically put, a customer will receive a copy of test results. I'll just add it to the last line.
I want to make sure that it's from the company that tests the meter, not just from the city.
A copy of the company report.
Yeah.
The company, yes, that's it, yes, thank you.
Okay, we're back on track. You made a motion, who seconded?
Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call, all right. Alderman Franklin. Alderman Katsu. Alderman Bader. We have all ayes here, okay. Alderman Smith.
Why don't we let this lay over and take the next two votes next month, so we don't have no meters going right now? Do we then? If we do, we'll tell them what's gonna cost, and we'll get this typed up right and do the other two readings. I feel more comfortable with that.
That sounds good to me.
Okay? Departmental reports. Okay.
last month. We got all of our equipment in for the conservation grant. We're gonna be installing on the trucks here in the next couple weeks probably. And the other thing is we're gonna be getting ready for a barbecue, probably end of next month, hopefully. We're gonna be putting the barbecue together. We just gotta find out dates and stuff of everything that's going on. And that's basically all I have.
Please?
I've got a couple of things to report on. The prisoner transport seat's been installed in the police car, it's gonna work out just fine. Had 4 animal calls since the last meeting. 2 of them were unfounded, 1 still in the investigative stage, and 1 resulted in a citation. Other than that, that's all I've got.
Art and cemetery?
The only thing I have to report, since the weather's getting nice, I think we're gonna be doing some cleaning at the park and at the cemetery.
Or are you going, you need the city, or are you gonna try to get a project going?
Well,
Volunteers or what?
I'm thinking maybe we might ask for some volunteers, you know, especially at the cemetery, because there is a lot of branches and stuff that need to be taken care of. So maybe one Saturday we could,
Or if we get done, we get done, well, we can't, the city employee have to do the rest. If nobody shows up, then we just have to get it done.
When we do this, is the city in any kind of liability as far as having residents coming in and these kind of things? That be something
I
to
wouldn't think so. No more, we're
maybe we should
insured
check,
on
make
the,
sure that, because if anybody got hurt,
the property is insured. I mean, people volunteer to do everything all the time. I mean, I don't think it would be any problem. I'm no authority on it, but
I think it's a
I
great
never heard
idea
of
for
it.
this
Right.
community to
I've
do
seen
that.
cities that have cleanup days,
Yeah, that's,
they do it on the Merrimack River, they do it on everything, and you know, government's not real easy to sue anyhow. But I think if anybody tries to sue the city over going out and picking up branches from the cemetery, they need to be exposed anyhow. Jennifer, what do you think?
Well, the only thing is that as long as they're above 18 years of age,
Right.
they can't handle any power equipment or stuff like that.
well, I'm just basically talking about picking up limbs, maybe pulling some
Because
weeds.
there are some things that need to be kept.
But they're going to use a chainsaw.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure, you know, that they get understood, that's all.
But there's like some flowers that are, you know, need to be taken care of, that are thrown around.
That, what they did?
Yes,
Did, Alderman Vader, did you have anything to say during the police report?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I think it was pretty well, I contacted Mark about it, and I talked to other people about it. And, Mark is not in the wrong because it is a farming.
Oh, wait a minute, that was brought up in his
Yeah.
report. If you're talking, okay, come back in here.
I
I'm
got a
sorry.
phone
It's
call.
my fault I didn't ask you. Do that.
I got a phone call about the cars parking there to check the mail and the bus letting the kids off, and, as long as that's a car lane, Mark has a right to keep the cars not parked there. That's the law. And as for the mailboxes, I don't know what you do with them. Whoever don't like them has to go to the postmaster, see if they can get them moved if they want to move. And I don't think the chamber's gonna know them, that's all. It's fine the way it is.
That part
because-
there, I'm gonna tell you right now, and that's not that. The mailbox is none of the city's business.
I know that.
It's none of our
That's what I
business.
said.
Where they're at, parking is. But
Yeah.
the mailbox itself, we have nothing to do with they get moved or don't get moved.
No, you have to go
But
to
we
the
do
postmaster.
enforce the parking, and
Yes.
it's justified so. You start to see the cluster we had down there one time, when nobody was parking there. We had people checking the mail, we had a fire truck trying to get out, we had firemen trying to get in, we had favor line letting out, and it was dangerous. That's why there is no parking on that street. Now, you can say, well, it don't take long, if 2 or 3 people get in line to get their mail, they got a street going up the hill, they can park on, check the mail.
I think
But
that's
now,
what
I don't worry about the mailbox, that's not my fault. But I will
Me either.
support, and it's the ordinance there, supporting it, and it wasn't done for the fun of it. It was justifiably so, no parking on that street, it got one with parking for trailer park and everything. And if you ever come in there, when fire trucks are trying to come out, and farmers are trying to get in, and then TG has bought that down there, sooner or later, there's gonna be something in there, more than likely. We're right back to the same old game.
what I just said.
Yeah.
Okay, we're agreeing.
But I know, but I'm telling them about why that was passed. People think,
Yeah,
and you investigated and you found out why it was passed, and it's necessary.
yes,
Now,
Was
Is
someone in
anybody
that
wanting
ward
to
called
change?
you, Gloria? Someone in that ward called you?
no,
Oh,
well, yeah, I guess it would be up there on the hill, they live up there.
no.
but if they got a complaint with the mailbox, the city is strictly nothing to do with that. And the
You're
post
right.
office, if they come up with something, that's between them and the change. But I don't think that you guys want to change that. But the parking is ours. If anybody got a problem with parking, we explained it, and we explained them my ideas, and let the board override this ordinance. I don't see no need to change it. But it's got a good purpose.
I don't think nobody wants to,
Okay.
I think it's fine.
But that's what that's all about. But I'm sorry,
That's all right.
okay. So we do have a couple of departments here that, employees in the Alderman Pro has report. Okay, is that all we got on the street?
We haven't got street.
Please.
We're finishing.
I mean, police and, the fire.
You're the.
And,
okay.
the park is done,
That's-
we're on the street.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot. I hope we go down with the snow. I think we got it. All in all, they did a happy job. And, had one complaint, which is, I tried to take care of it. I put more something down for that evening. Next day, we got out, tried to get the rest of the slush and stuff off the street. Other than that, I don't have one.
I know about the complaint, I don't even know how to say it. Probably, I think I won't, I think I just leave it laying like it is. But the street is for driving on, not walking on. You cannot get a street good enough to walk on. You better be drive on. I couldn't walk down 61 highway when that was going on, and they got 100 times better equipment than we got. I mean, you can't get rid of all the ice. You can sleep and fall on 2 pieces, 2 foot of ice, walking. But you can drive on it. Our main purpose of doing the streets is getting more people to drive up and down. If people want to get out there and walk down, most people will get over on the grass and walk when they drive on the street, which we cannot get the streets good enough to, but then you go back and you send it to more. Now then, it's almost more dangerous than the ice with all the cinders on there, and you don't have no braking. I mean, we got a problem with cinders now. We try to put enough on that we get traction, but we don't want to just keep adding and adding unless we have to. But we can't be putting enough on where people think they can get out and walk down the street without falling. It's a roadway, not a bike trail or walk trail. But I think, and I agree with you, and that was done on overtime. I mean, after hours, that was done. And I have a problem with that, but I'm not gonna go on further than that. But I think the guys did a hell of a job. They got out. They, anytime they were called on, they got it. The equipment held up good this time, I think. We didn't have no breakdown. And then if you had something you want to say, you had your hand up.
I had my hand up, I wanted to ask like permission, we know that we ain't gonna get no more stuff. We're gonna have to take that gas blower we got and blow the cinders off the roads to the side.
That could be done at the meeting. I just want to talk
Oh,
about what
I'm
was
sorry,
done.
I mean.
You can give
I
a
just
slide
want- I
anytime
didn't
you
wanna
want.
do that without him.
You can get the slide anytime you want.
Okay.
Okay? Anybody else? Okay. Water and.
Did you want me to speak at this time or do it at the?
Oh, yeah, I did tell you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, that's all right. I had I put it up as a citizen's request for action. It was Ms. Maria Scher on 4th Street here in town. And I told her that I would represent her because I feel like that is within the realm of an alderman's job. But on Saturday, March 8th, I was contacted by her regarding her property continuing to erode due to water runoff from several directions. I met with her and she described and showed me what was happening, and I observed that the ditch that runs parallel to the street in front of her house is full of leaves and dirt and that have washed from properties above hers. The rocks supplied to her by the city many years ago are nearly completely buried and no longer offer effective retention of dirt or drainage of stormwaters. The ditch on the opposite side of the street facing her house washes over the street, flowing into her ditch, compounding the problem. The ditch also appears to need attention as it's full of leaves and debris. I also noted the dirt on the street side of the ditches are definitely eroding away and could adversely affect the integrity of the city street. A good cleaning out of the ditches and culvert pipes may help. And that several years ago, Mrs. Scher said that several years ago she made contact with her alderman, actually 2 alderpersons, and discussed the issues with them and was assured that it would be taken care of. And then when she found that Mr. Clyde Casu was street supervisor, she asked for help and he asked her to bring the concern to the board. And her feeling was that she had brought it to the attention of 3 city officials who were elected to serve the people. That should be sufficient. So she responded and asked, and maybe you remember this, Clyde, I don't know, that she asked did the others have to come to the city meeting to get rock put in their ditches and along their houses. Seems like she has dealt with this for some time. So she has requested I represent it. And all she's asking is the street department to meet with her, assess her issues, and the city supply and spread rocks for her ditch, if that's what they do for other property owners. So the drainage problem that's eroding her property will be alleviated. And I personally just thinking that it's beneficial to the city to prevent any further washing away of the dirt under the city street. So that's what she's asking, and for us to make a decision on it, I don't think it would have to be done tonight if you want to kind of observe it, and then just let her know one way or the other is what she's asking. Either, let's get it fixed for her.
Gotcha.
Okay.
We do have a problem on that street though.
Okay.
It goes way beyond our means today. That hillside, go past her. That hillside, that washes across the street.
Right, yeah, she showed me 3 different places
It's
where
been,
the water.
they have tried for years. It has been done. It don't even last a year. So what do we do with that? It's a continuing thing that we can't stop. We can't put a wall up to stop that there. Now, I can
Can we help some of the other, there's 3 different places, can we work on at least 2 of the areas that are, keeping, getting rock in there and keeping that, as much as possible, keeping that ditch on the other side from
Let
flowing
me
over?
look at it.
Okay,
I'll go down this weekend, take a look at it, and I'll see what I can do. And I'll get back to you.
I appreciate that, thank you. And she would also like to know what we decide finally, too, so she has something.
Like I said, there's a lot of it we can't stop. Up that hill, it drains down the hill, it goes across the road. I'm not stopping.
And we've discussed this before.
Yeah, this is not a new thing. She's been talking for years about this, and nobody knows what to do with that hill. That's where the main problem is. Everybody washes down, then across.
But I did notice the culvert, the culvert pipe, I mean, you had to dig down there to actually see the pipe.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you will, thank you.
Animal control.
I haven't heard anything, and it seems that Officer Beckett is taking care of that.
No, then I marked it, then I had to go back there, I thought, water stuff. I had marked it off because I had kicked over you.
there's a couple of things I want to mention. Number one, we had several primers, Geisler's, Odom's, Langford, and the beauty shop up there. We did repairs to them. All back teeth are good, chlorine residuals are good. Close out of the wastewater plant project finally over, thanks to our city clerk. And everything's on the up and up for that. I gave you a report from DNR. You'll see that in here. And somebody anonymously turned in a complaint for black water, stomach pains, and intestine problems. Okay? Jim Smith come down on the 26th and took 3 samples. Once at the beginning of the system, once in the middle, and once on the end. And the results of those samples are in your report there. The thing that disappointed me is I don't care if it's anonymous or not, but it doesn't tell me anything about where it's at, where the problem was. I can't monitor when I don't know where the problem is. So if somebody turns in a DNR complaint, I don't mind that. I would just like to know where in town it is, the area in town, so I can monitor it. That report is useless. All it does is tell you that the water at the time they took the samples is safe. It doesn't say the problem's been taken care of, or it doesn't identify where the problem was. So, I would appreciate it. Anybody that knows anybody that wants to turn in a DNR complaint, I have no problem. I just need to know the area of town. I don't even need to know who it was that turned it in. It doesn't bother me a bit. Just tell me the area of town that it's in, so I can do it, or report it to the city. At least give me a chance to look at it first. If I don't take care of it, and if I can't take care of it, then I'll contact DNR, or they can still contact DNR. Okay.
Could
Enough
I
about
ask you
that.
something about Mr. Colvin?
Yes.
If these are anonymous, isn't that really the responsibility of DNR? Can I give you a general idea?
I don't know if they were told. I can't say, I can't hold that entity responsible for if they were never given, if they just said the same area.
I
Okay?
see, okay.
So,
So
and
how
that
did
was
they
only
do
one
that?
complaint.
Yeah.
And as
So
far
how did
as,
they know where to test the water at?
they didn't.
No, it's bad.
That's why I said we went to the beginning, the middle, and the end, and still found no problem, so. I can't operate the system or figure out the problems unless I know the area in which I need to go and monitor. They got some training coming up, and I talked to Carl about it. Because it's after the elections, but we need to send somebody from the wastewater side to get updates on new regulations and stuff. It's at the Osage Center Wednesday, the 23rd of April. And I'd like to attend for the city, but like I said, it's after the election, so. It doesn't cost the city anything. We use a DNR voucher. It's $50 DNR voucher. I'd like to attend. I'd like the board's approval to go. All right, I think, yeah. Henninger, the electrician that's supposed to hook up the electric for the pump house and the well and everything, said he'll be here next week to start on that. He didn't know if he'd be able to finish it, but he's going to get a start on it next week. And you also have a letter from DNR that we got yesterday, or this evening, this afternoon, sometime, that's releasing us from our bilateral agreement where we monitor at the beginning of the month and the end of the month.
Here it is. You had 4 copies of it.
Yeah, I gave everybody a copy.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we're going back to regular monitoring, which is 1 sample a month. And I think that's it. Thank you.
As far as that anonymous call, I'm pretty sure DNR knows who it was. But I don't know who's more asinine, whoever called it in, or them coming down here for one call, whenever we're on Baltimore water, You ain't no such thing as one person let they have a frozen line or their father. If there's somebody, ain't just one house gonna have bad water. Ain't gonna have. Now, usually Blackwater is a sign of frozen pipes. If they was, they was there, they wasn't ours. But it was that none of DNR to come down here for one call, without calling us. We just took samples. And when they come to took samples, they didn't even go in the first, in the middle. The only way else to do that is it's right on a dead end line. And one person would be the only one to get it. But there's no follow-up, there's no more complaints. The city didn't get a call on. Nobody come to us. Now, I don't blame anybody calling DNR if they call their city official or the water department, the sewer department, and tell them they got a problem and they don't check it out or look at it. But I think it was last night on the part of DNR to come down here on one call that wasn't even checked out or found. That's your tax dollars at work. You know how many people come, one or two? One. All day. It took him a day to come down here and do all this and go back to public works. And then we still had to take the test. He could have called down here and told us where to take the test. But they know how it works down here. They always get anonymous calls on St. Mary's. That's a political thing right here. I thought it had died away, but it looks like it's coming back again. Because I don't believe anybody, if they had Blackwater, it didn't come from us. But I just think that DNR needs to put their priorities in the right place.
No, see, that would be, to me, that's why I asked, it seemed like to me it would be their responsibility to say, check this general area, this is where the report came from.
I don't know, if I really had a problem, I called DNR, I wouldn't get a damn New York. I tell the world I called. But I would call my city first and ask them to do something about it first. And then if that didn't get no help, then I would call DNR. But DNR ain't supposed to be your first call, it's supposed to be your last call. Because you're getting no help. And we got no call, nobody has reported any bad water. I don't remember that. And all the tests that he ran on them come back great. So he ain't everything. Okay. Yeah, I had to be out of town that day. I wanted to meet with DNR and tell them things I can go to court. Now, it's nice for them to waste our money like that. Because it was, it's all was, a waste of money. They make pretty good money. Okay, I done got animal control and emergency management.
On a happier note, I finished my CERT training. I wanted to thank you guys for allowing me to do that. I know it didn't cost any mileage or tuition, but it was 3 days of my time. You've got my certificate. Just want to show you, I'll keep this either in City Hall or in my van, so I'm ready to go with it anytime. This is the backpack we received. It comes with some basic items. Also got the helmet and the vest, so I am official. So, and we learned a lot of things, fire suppression, search and rescue, basic first aid, had great instructors, Marzuko did the electrical safety, had, the exercise at the end was good. And this class, is if there is a catastrophe in this area where we are, they're basically teaching for flood, for tornado, and for earthquake. Those are the three likely scenarios we're going to see, and it's like if an earthquake happened right now, bridges are down, our emergency responders are, overwhelmed. We're not going to get any help, anytime soon. So it's up to, the citizens to help each other out. Family first, yourself, your family, and then you help out your neighbors. So I would recommend this class to anybody in St. Mary's. I think it's a great program.
That was something I was gonna ask, because you live up the road. You have to cross 2 bridges to get to us.
I know.
And if an earthquake hits, are you gonna be able to get to us? And
Never worry, I'll get back up.
Are you gonna back up?
Yeah, you got nothing to worry about.
I'll drive up to the bridge and I'll be basically hiking with this. But yeah, that's
So
why I
it is
encourage
available to
this.
others can do that.
Yeah, you don't have to be an emergency planner. This is open to civilians. I mean, there was 2 teachers in our class, a couple people from the courthouse in our class as well. Some guy from St. Louis who's in the Boy Scouts came down for this class. So yeah, there's no prerequisites or anything like that.
Well, let me ask this in the board, is this something that if other residents wanted to be involved in it, 2 or 3 more, maybe that we would pay for that as we did for him? It would be on their own.
And class is free, so it's no cost.
Oh, the class is free,
Yeah,
okay.
there's no tuition, and I live in St. John's, and money mileage, you know, so the only thing you paid was for my time, because the class was during my office hours, so.
Now, do they have these classes periodically, or?
They do. Right now, we have a teen CERT program. We're in St. John High School teaching that now to a group of people. They're doing a train-the-trainer, so that there's a few more people to teach the class. But if you'd like, I can keep you abreast of whenever the next regular class is up. During my report, I can let you know when that happens.
Yeah, because I myself am interested in taking that.
It's very good. I learned a lot. I mean, basic things. I mean, the firefighters, they know more than their little pinky than I, in my whole body. But I did learn how to mark buildings, to say we search these areas, and things like that. They're really good at, something like this.
It,
Yes, I do.
and we're gonna go into closed session on litigation. Last time people got upset because when they went outside, they stood out there and we got done with closing. And that's what's gonna happen today. That's the next thing on the agenda is closing after closed session. So, I mean, you're welcome to stay outside or wherever you find to come. But whenever we come out and then we close. Anybody wants to stick around here to close it or want to talk to it or anything, feel free. I just want you to know that it's only a matter of a minute from closing adjourning the meeting. So, but you're welcome to stay outside. We need a motion to go in executive session on litigation matter 6101021, paragraph 1.
So,
Do what?
You didn't do the citizens participation.
Oh, I didn't? Well, I will. Yeah, citizen participation. I didn't have a marked off, did you? Okay, anybody out there? Who went out?
Yeah.
You can't talk to me now. Anybody got anything to say?
Nobody.
I'm leaving.
Okay, we need a motion to go in, but we're not ready.
Right.
You can vote now.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to go into closed session for litigation matters 610.0211.
And I seconded it.
We're happy roll call in. Motion made, take roll
All
call.
right, roll call vote. Alderman Franklin,
Aye.
Alderman Smith,
Aye.
Alderman Costume.
Aye.
Alderman Bader. That's the first time I ever had a vote from the back. All these years.